Welcome to the Ordinary Marathoner podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Ordinary Marathoner podcast. My name is Coach Scott. I'll be your host today. It is Monday, August 2nd. Hope you guys had a great weekend of training, great weekend of racing if you're out there racing, and looking forward to a solid week, a solid beginning of a new month here in August. It's going to be a busy week for us this week. We have today's podcast, and we have another one coming up for you guys later in the week with Rhiannon Berry. Rhiannon was and I hope I'm not butchering her name, she was the captain of our aid station in Ironman Lake Placid, the one that Sam, my 12-year-old daughter, and I volunteered for. And I got to tell you, I was so impressed with the way things were handled out there, from all the organization that it takes, set up, tear down, and then, being there from like 11 o'clock in the morning until midnight, cheering on runners, making sure that they have everything that they need, on course, ready for them as they go by one way, and then they turn around, they come back the other way. We were the last aid station out on River Road at 9 o'clock at night. It gets pretty dark, and it's dark for the rest of the night. You're in the middle of the woods, in the middle out of nowhere, with just, watching these athletes and cheering on these athletes and making sure that they have the things that they need. We had a few situations out there that got a little hairy. We had a few. It was an interesting day, and my daughter was just amazed at the energy that this woman has, and I'm looking forward to talking to her. It's going to be a great podcast that should be out at the end of this week. Looking forward to that. Team Ordinary. We had a couple people on Team Ordinary getting it done over the past weekend. Again, if you're a member of Team Ordinary, put your races on the race calendar at teamordinary.com, and we'll read them out on the podcast. We had Debbie Early doing the Parker 2.4 mile wide open water swim in Parker, Colorado. That is a full triathlon distance, a full ordinary distance. The I word, they don't let you, if it's not an I promoted event, labeled event, branded event, you're not allowed to use that I word, that I have a tattoo on my leg, about. So they don't want, but I don't mind you guys using ordinary. So I think we'll just call it an ordinary distance triathlon. That the swim of an ordinary distance triathlon is a 2.4 miler, and Debbie was out there doing it. At least I think she was. I didn't see her post anything. So if you got it done, Debbie, congratulations. Great job. That's a challenging swim distance for open water for sure. That's why it's the ordinary triathlon distance. And also we had Joe Caniano out there in Smith Point, the Smith Point Sprint Triathlon in Shirley, New York. I believe that's Long Island. Joe getting it done. Impressive in the swim as always, Joe. Great job out there. Next week, August 7th, I'm just going to announce it now. Stu Wiener's out there doing the Ocean Beach John and Jesse Kelly half marathon in New London, Connecticut. Another half marathon for Stu. I'm thinking that's 45 for you. I don't know. I'm trying to keep track, but best of luck to you out there, Stu. We'll get the recap of that one for you next week. So lots going on. Again, if you're not a member of Team Ordinary and you want us to read your races, you want a hat, you want a shirt, go to teamordinary.com. It's not some kind of crazy ritual that you have to it's not some skull and bones type initiation. Thank you, sir. May I have another? You just go to teamordinary.com. You sign up. It's, I think it's less than $50. You get a shirt, you get a hat, and you get a bio page on the website, whatever whatever you want, whatever I can do for you, and we'll read your races. If you put them on the calendar, we'll read them on the podcast. So really a great week. And guys, I got to tell you, the best news is this is the best news. The next piece of news is the best news of the day for sure. Late last week, they opened up registration for Ironman Chattanooga 70.3 in May, specifically May 22nd of next year. Now, usually what happens with Ironman branded races is that once they happen, they open up registration for the next year almost immediately. So Ironman Lake Placid, even though it was only a week ago, they're already their registration is open. It's been open for a couple days now. But for whatever reason, Chattanooga, they didn't set a date until just recently, maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago. And then they just opened registration, I think it was on Friday. So Friday at noon, we're all doing sitting at the computer, refresh, and eventually it opened. And man, we have a lot of people out there. Worst kept secret, I think, of all time. I didn't announce it on the podcast because I didn't necessarily, I wanted to make sure that the people that are tight with us, that are in the group, that they got in and they didn't miss registration. I don't think it's sold out. So if you want to join us out there, you can, by all means, go check it out. and get yourself registered. But here's the list of names. And I will be doing the 70.3 out there in Chattanooga, May 22nd, 2022, along with Aaron Shepard, Ron Booz, Elena Fajaco, Joe Caniano, Jim Simcoe, Joe Bartlett, Todd Seiden, Allison Knott, and Megan Brown. A lot of those folks will be sporting the Team Ordinary gear, the Team Ordinary kit. Love to see it. It's going to be a major presence out there in Chattanooga next year. In addition to that, I do have to announce probably my favorite entry of this race. The Ordinary Marathoner Foundation, all of our board members will be participating in the race. Now, I will be doing the 70.3, but the rest of them will be doing the relay. They've formed a relay team. They're going to try to beat me. I think that they might not have trouble doing that, but we're going to see. It's going to be a race for sure. We have Debbie Early doing the swim. Now, she's going to kick my butt out there in the water, that's for sure. I'm hoping to kind of catch up a little to Scott Frassard, who'll be doing the bike, and then passing your wife on the run would probably not be advised, but Stephanie, my bride, Stephanie, will be out there doing the run portion, the half marathon out there on May 22nd. So a big crowd, a nice group of people. I do actually have one more relay team that we're trying to put together. I have one person committed for the run, so I'm looking for someone to do the bike, looking for someone to do the swim, and then we'll announce that one too. We'll announce that relay group as well. So if you're interested, if you're saying to yourself, man, I'd love to go join them. It sounds like a lot of fun, but I don't know that I can complete a 70.3, or I don't want to train for a 70.3, but I know I can do the swim, or I know I can do the bike. Let me know. Come join us. Come join the party. Those are the fun ones to do too. You want to do the swim and the bike because the swim you get over nice and quick, and then then you can just go and you can shower, you can enjoy the day while your teammates are out there on the bike and on the run. You'll be there for the medal ceremony. You'll be 5 beers in. You'll be happy. Anyway, so we're looking for a swimmer and a cyclist, and I got to tell you, I have been revived with this announcement, with this group of people that are going to this race. I do have more races on my race calendar this year. Specifically, I have the Maine. I'm doing a relay in Maine with Jacob Polson and Matt Shore. I'm going to be doing the swimming in the Atlantic Ocean with the Sharks. I got to head to swim in about an hour and a half. I got a lane reservation. Working hard on that. I feel really good about that. But I'm also doing the virtual Boston Marathon and also Philadelphia Marathon in November. I got to work on those. I got to start working hard on my run game because it's been pretty weak. In addition, I talked about it a couple weeks ago. I started using MyFitnessPal, trying to get my eating under control, and it has honestly, it's worked wonders. And I hate, Under Armour is not a they're not a sponsor of the show, but I have used when I sit down and I use MyFitnessPal and I track my food. I learn a ton. I learn when I'm ingesting too much food. I told you about the almonds thing, right? I'm grabbing a handful of almonds and I'm using that as my snack. And when I go and I grab a handful and I eat, it's like 180 calories. So you do it once, twice a day, not such a big deal. But when you're doing it 5-6 times a day, because I'm a very reflexive kind of eater, I walk through the kitchen and I feel like I just grab things. And I've learned, and just over the last 3 weeks, how detrimental that has been, how bad that habit has become over the last few months, and how I'm just destroying myself. Any calories I burn through exercise, I am not only replacing, but over and above those calories. And you wonder why I just sort of creep up. It doesn't take much to tilt the scales either direction. It really doesn't. If you're averaging 200 calories more than you're burning on a daily basis, you're going to slowly gain weight. And if you're averaging 200 calories less than you burn on a daily basis, you're going to slowly lose weight. So that difference of just, a few hundred calories, if you're doing it day in and day out and you're slowly gaining or slowly losing, monitoring that, seeing where your faults lie, and then adjusting your patterns and your habits in order to make it a little bit more tenable for losing weight. I need to lose weight in order to compete, in order to become a better athlete. Just monitoring that, learning from what it tells you, being honest with yourself, and facing it. It's so far so good. Now, we started doing this about 3 or 4 weeks ago. I believe it was a week before Lake Placid. So really, maybe 3 weeks ago. I had topped out at about 252 pounds. I think on day one of tracking calories, I was 249. And I lost almost in the first week. I lost about 5 pounds down to 244. Went to Lake Placid. And I got to tell you, it is difficult. It is difficult to be on vacation and count calories and monitor your food. Between like going to a restaurant and trying to guess what's in there and trying to, you don't have the weight. It's is this steak 6 ounces or 8 ounces? Maybe it's written there, maybe it's not. How much did I eat? Did I eat 2/3? Did I, is there butter on there, or is there whatever it may be? You have absolutely no idea. It makes things difficult, and it's kind of a distraction when you're on vacation. It was hard for me. I have some athletes that went on vacation, and they had the same trouble. So it's difficult. Maybe you're on vacation, you want to kind of sit back and relax, have a glass of wine or a beer or something like that, and you're like, oh, did I have 3 beers or 4 beers, whatever? But sometimes you just need to enjoy vacation for what it is. And when I went to Lake Placid, we were active. I felt pretty good about myself. But when I came back, I had gained 3 pounds back of the 5. Not to be dismayed. It was vacation. I went off the PAL. I broke the rules. I accept the consequences of those rules, which for me was a short-term gain of 3 pounds. But now that I've gotten back on it, and honestly, it took a couple of days to get in the swing of things. And now that I'm back in there, and I know what my bad habits are, because now I'm a couple weeks into it, and I know when I'm in my daily routine what things I need to avoid and what helps out, like what the choices that I can make. Maybe my mother-in-law loves these little thin Oreo cookies, and she buys them and she puts them, and it's one thing, I'm like, oh, it's a thin Oreo, right? So if I eat them, I'll remain thin. That's not the logic here, people. That's not the logic. But yeah, it's one. I'm not saying you can't have it either. I'm not saying you can't have it, but what I'm saying is that you have to know what it is that you're putting in your mouth. The rule is if it goes in the mouth, it goes on the PAL. At least you know, and you can look at it and you can analyze it later, and you can say, hey, maybe I shouldn't have grabbed those Oreos. Maybe I shouldn't have got those nachos, or maybe I shouldn't have did this cheesy something, whatever it could be. Maybe I should have went with a yogurt, or so I have these grapefruit cups that I get from Costco that I love, and if I just have one. And again, it's not that I'm hungry. It's that I'm going through the kitchen and I'm grabbing snacks. So if I'm grabbing a healthier option and then I'm monitoring and I'm trying not to grab as many as normal, I will be on the lower end of that calorie level, and all of a sudden I'm dipping below the calories that I'm burning, or that I'm burning for that day, and I'm losing weight. And in the last week, going back on the PAL, I'm back down underneath that 244, which was that low. I hit 243 this morning, and feeling good that trajectory is down. And you can't let those short-term blips. I go on vacation, I gain some weight. It's gonna happen, and you have to just accept it. And it's frustrating, borderline depressing at times, because you know that it took some focus and concentration and effort to lose those pounds, and it took nothing to gain more than half of them back. So I lost 5 pounds being focused and really kind of putting some energy into being good and behaving well, and then it turned around and I gained the weight because I lacked caution. I went off the PAL. But I accept it, I move on, right? Accept it, you knew what was happening, you move on. Now, another good milestone. Now, back in March or April, we started this series of Zwift races. We did 2 of them. Racing on the same exact course. We were supposed to do it every 4 or 5 weeks. We did it twice, and I think the last time we did it was about 3 months ago. So we've been a little derelict in kind of doing that race again, but it's coming, folks. I did not forget. I think also with the summer, people riding a lot outdoors. It's been a little bit strange, but not strange, but a little bit, you kind of lose focus, I guess, and you kind of forget. But every time I go into race on Zwift, I always change my weight. And typically, if I'm at a good weight and I feel pretty good and I'm training hard, I will update that weight on Zwift often. Now, it's important to update your weight on Zwift because the way that Zwift calculates speed, the big portion of that calculation, there's other things that feed into it, right? There's drafting, there's what bike you're on, what tires you're using, what the terrain is, whether you're going uphill, downhill, all that stuff factors into speed. But the main thing, the 2 factors that factor mostly into speed is the power that you push through the pedals in watts, measured in watts, divided by your weight. So the more watts you push, the faster you'll go. The less weight you are, the faster you'll go. Right? It's just the calculation. Watts per kilogram, they call it. Obviously, we don't really weigh ourselves in kilograms here. So watts, we could think of it as watts per pound, same sort of concept. The lower you weigh, the more, the faster you will go. Now, I had in that last race that we did back in March or April, I plugged in my weight at 243 pounds. And I got to tell you, when your weight starts creeping up, the last thing you want to do is update your weight on Zwift. Now, if I was in a race or if I was racing against somebody, I would definitely do it because you have to be honest. There's an honesty factor that you really have to do. But for my mental health, I was ignoring that number. I didn't want to push it up higher. I didn't want to make my avatar go any slower than it already was. And I struggled with it. I tried for my own personal mental health. And really, it was depressing me to have to increase that weight. So I just pretended like it wasn't there and tried to focus on the workouts itself. And, varying degrees of success within that workouts over the last few months. But I tell you what, it is nice to know that as of this morning, I am back on that weight number. I am back on that 243 pounds, which is where I was the last time I adjusted that weight. And I tell you, as much as it's detrimental and bad for your mental health to have to increase that weight number when you don't want it to go up, you want it to go down, and you're working hard and your eating habits are just not good enough, and that weight number is still creeping up no matter how hard you work out because you're just not focused on that diet. It is anguishing. It is anguishing but for as much as that is, it is so helpful when that number starts declining. And all of a sudden you're entering that weight and you're seeing the benefits of discipline when it comes to diet and working out and training. And you're seeing it and you're able to kind of manifest that you're manifesting that work and that discipline into a lower number, which is like, that's free speed. That is free speed that comes with discipline. Right? That you think about that. That is just evidence by placing a lower number into that field and earning it and being honest. It's important. You don't just go in there, right? 100 pounds. That would not be good. But by earning it and writing in that lower number, you are seeing manifesting speed just by doing that. And that is satisfying. And when you have satisfying things in training, you get onto a new page and you get that sort of wave of motivation, and it just hits you. And I got to tell you, the combination of all these folks signing up for Ironman Chattanooga 70.3 May 22nd of 2022, the combination of me trying to outrace my fellow board members as they do the relay and I do the 70.3, the full 70.3, that is awesome. That is awesome. And I feel really, really good. And I don't know why. I train in waves. I am either on or I'm off. And it's been ever since I started endurance sports. This is what happens to me. And I am very aware of this. And I am very open and honest about it. I am not, and in a way, I don't like being honest about it because I feel like eventually what's going to happen is I'm going to hit that peak again. And maybe it will be Chattanooga 70.3, or maybe it'll be one of these races that I'm doing later in the fall. But the chances of me hitting that peak again and then kind of going back down that other side into the trough of training are very high. And it's going to be a battle. And I know it because I've done this time after time after time. But I'm honest about it. And this is the way I train. This is the way over. When I look at the course of a year, or over the years, it's on and off and on and off and on and off. And hopefully this time I'm going to be able to just stay on, keep it going. I am using this 70.3 in May as my goal race. I want to perform well. I want to take this race and I want to kind of compare it. I'm also doing Muscle Man. I just did Muscle Man about a month ago. I'm also doing Muscle Man again next year. So that's another one. So there's 2 races there. And that's a bit of a redemption race because I didn't feel good, even though I finished and I felt good about finishing and earning that medal. I feel like that medal was earned. It wasn't me at my best. And so I want to go back and I want to finish that race on my terms and not the race's terms. I feel like that's kind of the mindset that I feel when I go to a race and I'm not ready for it. I'm not in shape for it. I feel like that I survived it. Right. I've talked to one of my athletes, Chris Myers, about this, and she says, I'm kind of sick and tired of just going to these races and just surviving them and just finishing it. Like you want to do these, you want to do these races on your terms. You want to race these races. They're called races. They're not called survival events. They're called races. You want to race them. And I do. I want to do that next year. I don't feel like I've ever attained the my peak performance. Very, very close potentially in Ironman in 2017. That was my peak, but even at that time, I felt like I could do better if I just focused, and I lost focus. So again, this is all part of the process. And, I could see myself doing Ironman Lake Placid in 2023 again. And I just got to so this is the beginning of something, guys. This is the beginning. This was a wake-up call in Muscle Man that, man, I was a little bit out of shape, and it's time to start working on that and get into race shape and get working on that. Use what I've learned about diet, use what I've learned about training, adjust the schedule. Thank you for reminding me. 5 a.m. Warriors. We've been doing the 5 a.m. Warriors ride for pretty much a year now, right? On and off lately. Agreed. It's been hard. It's been a struggle to kind of get up at 5 a.m. and continue this ride. I have been staying up far too late at night. I have not been good to myself. And it's been a struggle to wake up at 5 a.m. and do the ride, and then 6 a.m. and do the 6 a.m. ride as well. Now, there are things you can do, strategies you can do, right? I could try to revive this. And if you are on the 5 a.m. schedule, you should continue doing that. You are a warrior. 5 a.m. People who wake up at 5, Katie Mayo, 5 a.m. clockwork every day, go out and run. You are a warrior. It takes a warrior to have that discipline to wake up at 5 a.m. every day and go out and do it. We were that for a while. I think of Ron Booth, Todd Seiden, Mike Romans. These guys were up almost every day for months from August until probably December. And we were up every day, 5 days a week during the week. And some days, even on weekends, we would do a long ride on Saturday. Now, we need to kind of rekindle that work ethic. But 5 a.m. just wasn't working. So instead of just trying things that aren't working, we need to kind of change gears. And this is how we're changing gears. I've talked to Ron. I've talked to Mike. Ron in particular. Ron gets home from work about 8 o'clock at night. So 9 o'clock, 9 p.m. rides. We're going the other way with it, folks. 9 p.m. and it's going to kind of wipe out my 5 a.m., 6 a.m. opportunities. Because obviously if we ride for an hour or more, going to bed right after a workout, that late, it's not exactly good for sleep. Sleep is important. It's an important part of training. To wake up at 4:30 or 5 o'clock in the morning to then train again, that's not going to happen. So we're going to try to go with these 9 p.m. rides. We're working on schedules right now. I think tonight we're going to do an FTP test. We haven't tested it in a while. I'm a little bit scared of the FTP test. I probably will put it on the live stream. So you guys can see me nearly vomit. We'll see how that goes. We'll see how that works out. But yeah, it's kind of like a fresh beginning. And you know what? We've registered for this race here. We've registered for this 70.3 in Chattanooga. By the way, if you guys are out there and you're listening, registration is still open. I think they still have plenty of slots. So please, if you want to join us, just join us. Let me know. I'll give you the hotel information if you'd like. I think many of us are staying at the same hotel. There's one or two of them, I think, that we're staying at. We're looking forward to seeing people out there, man. We're going to make a big splash with Team Ordinary at Chattanooga 70.3. Man, I can't believe that we have so many people going to an Ironman branded race. I just can't. But it's going to be a lot of fun, and it's really got me going, guys. It's really got me going. A couple of things before we go for the day. If you're interested in, by the way, the 9 p.m. rides, I think that the 9 p.m. rides, by the way, we have a lot of people. Most of our following on Zwift is kind of from the U.S. And so 5 a.m. rides are great if you're on the East Coast. But anywhere else, it's like if you're Central Time, that's 4 a.m. If you're Mountain Time, that's 3 a.m. And I know Greg is out there on the West Coast doing 2 a.m. rides with us occasionally. But wouldn't it be nicer if those rides were instead of like 2 a.m., they were at 5 or 6, 7, 8, and 9 p.m. I think these 9 p.m. rides could potentially grow a little bit better, and we might even get a little bit better audience, especially from the States, for these 9 p.m. rides. So we're going to give it a go over the next few weeks. And if you want to join us for those rides, let us know. Come join us. We're going to invite some of you folks from our trivia rides on Thursdays. These are going to be pretty much work rides. I mean, we will keep everyone together. So if you do want to kind of just do like a zone 2 sort of type easy ride or at your own pace, that's fine, and you will stay focused with us. But we are going to try to do some more workout-based efforts on these 9 p.m. rides. Would love to see you there. If you want to join us, just let me know, and I can add you to our invite list on Zwift. That being said, we're going to wrap it up for today. I felt like I just had something else to say, but I don't. So Coaching, if you're interested in coaching, reach out to me. I'm coaching a lot of these athletes that are going to be doing this 70.3. Would love to have you join us for this. We have a really good group of athletes, a good group of core athletes that are working towards, a lot of them working towards 70.3 distances. Would love to see you guys out there. Join us for this wonderful, amazing, adventure that we're going to have leading up until Chattanooga, May of next year. If you don't think you can do a 70.3, you got a lot of time. Let me know. We can have a little conversation. Love to talk to you guys about that. You can either reach out to me on the YouTube or on our Facebook, or you can write me at coachscott@teamordinary.com. Any of those will get you in front of me so we can chat about coaching potentially. Patreon, if you want to help the podcast, if you want to support the podcast, patreon.com/ordinary marathoner. Become a patron. We'll add your name to the scroll that you're going to see in about 3 seconds after I tell you every day is an ordinary day unless you make it extraordinary. So get after it, guys.